Kia ora, kia rana, talofa lava, malolale, nisa bulavanaka, whakalofa lahi atu, namaste, vanakum, sat sri akal, ni hao, anyang hasayo, shalom, and for our Muslim brothers and sisters in the room, a very happy Ramadan Mubarak to you this evening. I'm so pleased to be here tonight, and you might have noticed that I'm the token bloke on the stage today. I feel just like a piece of meat, really. It reminds me a little bit about 10 years ago. I was the main caregiver for, at that stage, our two young children, and I got involved in my local Plunket sub-branch just here in, it was the Linfield Roskell Plunket sub-branch, and I became the chairperson of that Plunket sub-branch, and then I put my hand up to go to the Plunket conference in Rotorua that year, and I thought, oh, this will be really good, and I turned up. They've got a big conference centre behind the bathhouse at Rotorua that some of you might have been to before, and I walked into it, and I was a little bit late getting there, and I looked around, and there were 800 women and me. I later found one guy. He disappeared on the first night, and it was the most fun, interesting, and terrifying weekend of my life. But I'm so thrilled to be here with you this evening, and really happy that you could have this event here in Mount Roskell. One of the things that Shailesh said before that we're really proud of in this community is that we are the most diverse community in all of New Zealand. Within a 5-kilometre radius of this point here, there are over 150 different cultures, ethnicities, and languages. And one of the things that I really firmly believe about New Zealand in 2019 is that we just have this incredible potential in our country, because we're no longer the country we were, 50, 60 years ago, where a bunch of guys like me, but perhaps a little bit older, sat round in circles and at tables and in smoky rooms and made all of the decisions. We've got people from a huge range of backgrounds, men and women, people of different faiths and cultures and languages and perspectives, who can all contribute to making this a good, prosperous, fair place to live for all of our people. And of course, you are playing a really important part of that. I want to speak about a couple of things tonight. I want to give a few pointers and tips about some of the little things that government is trying to do to provide support and useful advice to people who are starting off in business. And I want to talk a little bit about why I think what you are doing is just so really important. And I want to start with some of the good things. The first thing is that here in New Zealand, we are ranked as the #1 place in the world by the World Bank for ease of doing business. And I know it might not always feel that way. And that's not to say that it is easy, because I'm sure that a lot of days it's really tough going. You have setbacks and challenges and frustrations. And one of the reasons you're here is because you've kept pushing through those things. But compared to virtually every other country in the World Bank says that New Zealand is actually one of the easiest places, particularly to set up and get a business going. And some of that is stuff that we take for granted. We have a functional justice system. So if there's a dispute, you've got a fair way of getting a resolution. We have very little corruption in New Zealand, so you don't have to bribe officials to get a process through the system. And sometimes I speak to people in New Zealand who, that's a really big deal, given the back countries that they have come from. We have a relatively efficient tax system. We actually have really, really good IT infrastructure in this country. The broadband that we have in New Zealand that's rolling out across the country is now some of the best in the world, and that's going to be hugely beneficial to businesses. As Deborah said, we have a great education system, and we are one of the most globally networked trading countries in the world. So if you're in a business that's looking to get out there and export goods and services, we have some of the best trade relationships with huge economies like China, for example, where we've got great access into those markets. So there's a lot of good things that can be a platform for us to grow great businesses here in New Zealand. I want to rip through a few of the little initiatives that government is trying to bring to bear just to make things a bit easier and help to support businesses to grow and prosper and get off the ground. One place that's really good to go to if you haven't had a look already is business.govt.nz. This is the website that the government has set up to kind of bring together all of the tools and useful information that might help you, particularly if you're in the early stages of setting up a business. They've got things there, for example, like a tool that gives you advice about the type of business structure that will be useful for you, and that's really important in the early days of setting up a business. If you're at the stage where you're beginning to employ people, that can be a little bit scary because you want to do the right thing because you're all good people, And you also don't want to end up in the Employment Relations Authority. So they've got a tool on that website that will help you to set up appropriate and lawful employment agreements with your employees. If you're getting to the stage where you need to set up policies and procedures within your businesses, perhaps you've grown a little bit, you've now got some staff, you're having to anticipate things that might happen and how you'll deal with them, they've got a tool and templates for establishing those policies and procedures in your business. So some really useful information on business.govt.nz. Number 2, the New Zealand business number. Is this something that anyone's familiar with here? A few of you have? Yeah, so this is a unique number that you can get for your business that's designed to pretty much follow you through. And so when you're dealing with government departments or with other businesses, your unique New Zealand business number will mean that they can more quickly identify exactly who you are and what the past dealings you might have had with them are. So it's a little tool just to help streamline some of those dealings. And there are some really good things that we're beginning to build off it. So e-invoicing is something that some of you will be engaged in. The government's currently doing a lot of work with Australia and other countries that we deal with so that you as a business can engage in e-invoicing with other businesses, not just here in New Zealand, but in Australia and other countries as well. And that has huge efficiencies for your business if we get that going. We've set up a small business council. This is led by a guy called Tenby Powell, who's kind of one of those serial entrepreneurs. He's a guy who looks out for great businesses, invests in them, helps to get them off the ground, and supports them along the way. He's now leading a group of people who have got experience in small business to give the government advice about trying to set up policies that will be supportive of what you are doing. The Ice House. The Ice House, has anyone heard of this? Yeah. Some of you have. Fantastic business incubator, partnership between New Zealand Government, Callaghan Innovation, a number of corporates like Xero and Auckland University, and they're a hub that can support businesses that are growing, that need a bit of expert advice or input to get off the ground and grow to the next level. If you're in a business that's in that space, they're a really great place to look to for some advice and support. Really easy to find on the internet, the Ice House. Final thing I want to mention is something that's just come in this week actually through the Parliament, and that's the Research and Development Tax Credit. If you're in a business where you're in this area of research and development, you're trying to resolve technical or scientific problems, you're investing in research and development, which has really big benefits for our economy, there's now a 15% tax credit that can apply to you for that work, and that's going to be kicking in. Deborah Russell can help me with the date when it's being implemented from. Oh, 1st of April, Research and Development Tax Credit. It's pretty much already in. That's right. So that can be a really great tool for some businesses that are getting involved in R&D. So that's just a bit of a run through about some useful things that we're trying to do as government to better support what you're doing as entrepreneurs and business people. Final thing I just want to end on is just a few thoughts about why what I think you are doing as business people, as entrepreneurs, is so important. I really believe that in this country we've got to work together. We all need to work together and contribute if we want to make this a good country for all of our people. Yeah. We need people in the public services, we need teachers and we need nurses and we need social workers to do all of those really important things that build up the strength of our country. We need people who are workers, who go to work in factories and shops and offices to give their labour and to get things done. And I'm a Labour politician. Those people need to be treated fairly and paid well and be given dignity in what they do. But boy, do we need you guys as well, with all of your fantastic ideas and your passion and your risk-taking. I spoke to about 4 or 5 of you just as we were having a bite to eat at the beginning of this, and I said to each of you, how did you get started in what you're doing? And I think every single one of you used the word, I had this little dream. And so you're the people who have a little dream, but you don't just leave it there. You then say, take it to the next step and you say, well, how am I going to make that a reality? And that's really, really special. That's how we change things and get things done and grow things. So I just really encourage you just to not, and I know there's a grind to what we do sometimes in all of our jobs, but never to lose sight of that. 40 years ago, we were one of the wealthiest countries in the world. And over the last 40 years, we've actually slipped away compared to a lot of other countries. In my view, we've become too reliant on turning grass into milk and cheese and meat, protein. It's a big part of our economy and our growth, but it actually doesn't deliver the high incomes and high wealth that we want for our kids and our grandkids. It's the stuff that you guys do. developing new business ideas that will actually help to get us there. So keep dreaming, and we hope to be there to help and support you along the way.